Dear family in Ghana, um, my name is Gail, or Dr. Gail Bradbrook. I'm from Yorkshire in the north of England, and I live in a town called Stroud in the southwest. And I've got two boys, they're 17 and 14. My dad and my granddad and my great granddad, they were all coal miners. It was really brutal work, and they fought in unions, the miners, to get better paying conditions. And then the communities were proud when some people like myself got educations, and went to university. Um, since being a girl, I've been interested in science. I used to like looking in the streams at the frogs growing from being tadpoles. And I also used to love going to this woodland called Howell Wood. It was oak trees and a beautiful lake. And I used to recover from the pressures of school there. I've been aware since I was really young that there's something very badly wrong in the way that we're living here in the West, and that we're causing a lot of pressure on our natural environment. In 2018, I helped to found and launch a movement called Extinction Rebellion that spread across many parts of the world. And we were there because the science tells us that we're pumping carbon into the atmosphere in a way by burning fossil fuels like coal, oil and gas, that's destroying natural habitats as well. Capitalism, the way it's destroying these habitats, that's creating a mass extinction of life on Earth, worse than the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. The science says that we're changing the weather systems, and I think any farmer wouldn't need a scientist to tell that we're wrecking the life support systems of the planet, and that the weather's changing as a result, and it's going to make farming increasingly difficult. As the Extinction Rebellion, we made demands on our governments here that people work together to create a just transition through participatory democracy, through citizens' assemblies and so on. And our first demand was that the truth be told. And what we meant by that was tell the truth, not only that our government was not informing its citizens about the dire circumstances that we're facing, but it gets lobbied by, and politicians also get funded by fossil fuel companies and other vested interests who have been actively lying to people so they can keep making these big profits while life on Earth is being destroyed. So I'm making this video in friendship and sisterhood and in the spirit of dialogue to share what truths I've come to understand, and wondering how it is for family in Ghana. I wonder if you're being lied to like we are. I wonder who there is helping to spread the truths of these times so that we can unite as a global family and stop the destruction and repair our home planet together. There are so many lies and distortions here. I think of us as living in a society that tries to brainwash us and force us to be part of a machine of destruction. If you don't have your basic needs met, then you end up being compliant and participating in things that are destroying people's lives elsewhere. People here are made to hate and blame themselves and other vulnerable people. Racism's whipped up as a tool to divide us. And yet we're told ours is the best way to live, and we're shown images of people living in Africa as if it's backwards, rather than being given any understanding of how people are, and how they feel and how their communities work, and how there's many different ways for communities to organise and actually live sustainably. Our communities are so broken here. Our young ones are unwell. For many of them, their spirits are low. We've got a crisis of mental health problems for our young ones here. Their bodies change too early into adults, and this is because of being poisoned by chemicals in the water. And we're swallowing so many tiny bits of plastic now that's in the water. We're only just beginning to understand the impacts it's having on our bodies. Our children have respiratory diseases like asthma because the air is so polluted. Unhealthy food is being made to be attractive to kids, full of bad fats and sugar, so that so many of them are overweight. And they're also getting addicted to these phones because the technology companies actively design them to be addictive. And then rather than educating our young ones to question the way we're living, the education they're given is designed to get them to stop thinking critically and want to get a job and be part of the life-destroying machine. It's a system here that creates broken and compliant individuals separated from each other in numbed out fear. This was a deliberate policy. A former Prime Minister, Mrs. Thatcher, named that if you change the economy so that it squeezes people so much, they will become different people. She said, economics is a method, the object is to change the heart and soul. And so many of us here are struggling to pay our bills as the prices are shooting up. There's a life-destroying system of colonialism that has the purpose of enriching a few, and it really just doesn't seem to care about the destruction it creates. It's anti-life, it's separated from life, and in fact it's illogical because it's going to destroy itself. And the question is, how much damage will it do in the meantime? The reports that we can rely on tell us that many parts of the world will become uninhabitable in the next decades, because either there will be no water for the crops, or too much water and places flood, or places will get so hot that people will be killed by the heat in a matter of hours. It's thought that as a result, half of all Africans will have to move. And what that really means is that if people can't move, they will suffer greatly or die. I wonder how many people are in fact alerted to and preparing for the onset of what are called wet bulb temperatures, these temperatures where people can't live. Our way of life here that provides consumer comforts to get us to ignore and accept all the harm that's been done is likely to cause so much harm where you are, and I'm really so sorry. Some of us have been fighting for years to make change. Part of the umbrella canopy of Extinction Rebellion here in the UK is carrying on with the work of alerting people to the crises we're in and welcoming new people to make change. And some of us have formed an XRB in the Change Affinity Network, which will run through the spirit of compassionate revolution, because we know that for anything to change now, everything has to change. We need a sane economy and we need functional democracies. This is a time needing both compassion and revolution. In XRB we believe no one can do this alone. We need each other, and to feel each other's struggles and to know your liberation and mine are intertwined. There will be no planet, repairs, no freedom or people's power without co-liberation. We want our actions to be linked across the world, local action linked globally, or global linking. Therefore, we're committed to internationalist solidarity. And as part of that, what we're seeking is a multipolar world where allo mothering is at the centre, you know, looking after our young ones as a community, and where power is distributed. And we understand the need for pluriversal approaches that honour that there are many ways of knowing and being in this beautiful and alive world of ours. This requires here decolonisation of, you know, myself, of our European kin, because we've forgotten our own indigenous ways and we've been put into a state of numbness and comfort seeking. In that way, we approach our anti-racism work as an act of liberation for ourselves, also in relinquishing what we call wetiko whiteness, speaking to the mind virus of the domination paradigm that we are infected in. We also need to protect and build our resilience. We really have little resilience here, in fact. We've been made to be dependent and not realise that we're dependent on systems of extraction and exploitation from family in the global south. I wish your communities and cultures well, because my understanding is that there's greater resilience in your communities and that we haven't yet been, you know, that because I haven't been yet fully sold out to the god of capital. Majority world countries have been colonised and exploited for centuries. Your vast material wealth is robbed from you with little or no benefit to yourselves. Maybe you're being told, like we were and are, that this is in the name of progress. We should ask ourselves what progress and who is benefiting from it. Not our young ones here who are facing a collapse in society, not what is there and coming down the line in Africa and in other parts of the majority world. I've come to understand that the key to change is in the majority world, especially when people have charge of their governments rather than puppets that have been championed by the elites here in the West, here in the UK, to serve their corrupt purposes. Change will come. when all of us are led by governments that can see the lies from the West and refuse to pay the odious and unjust debts our banks and our systems have saddled us with. We have our own focus here on the non-payment of unjust bills. A movement grew last year called Don't Pay, which was about the fact that some people just can't pay bills and some of us would refuse to pay as an act of defiance. I have myself participated in 3 non-payment strikes. I wonder how we can build a global movement to refuse to pay into this death machine of a globalised economy that is eating the world. I've also been part of protests at banks as part of Extinction Rebellion's Money Rebellion. Some of us broke their windows peacefully when no one was going to get harmed. And I might be jailed later this year for similar actions at a government building. We broke these windows in the spirit of our ancestors who've resisted and struggled before us, the women's movement for the vote, the suffrage movement, with references to sheroes like Sylvia Pankhurst. Non-payment strikes of old were led by Mary Barber, and Joanna Ferrer was a woman who was part of and a leader in the peasants' revolt in England many years ago that revolted against unjust taxes and wider oppression. In that way, I celebrate with other women her stories of resistance, how we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors like Nanny of the Maroons, the ABBA women's protest that resisted colonial patriarchy, Asantewa and Funmileo Ransome Kuti. So I welcome this initiative of GIPRAD to create a dialogue between people so that we can directly share our experiences, our fears and longings and our plans for change. GIPRAD is a contribution amongst others to supporting Indigenous and participatory democratisation efforts in Ghana alongside others. In this way, we might deepen our understanding of not only the problems in the world, but the many ways that our species has worked out how to live here well. I consider that we largely have a fake democracy here in the UK, and 1 in 8 people here think the same. We are witnessing the electoral shenanigans currently unfolding in Nigeria and the democracy deficit of coloniality in most parts of the global south. Our co-liberation requires genuine participatory democratisation of the entire world, here in the global north and also in Ghana, Africa and the rest of the global south. Functional democracy also needs well-informed, truthfully educated global citizenship and therefore globally interconnected masses of peoples. Strengthening our own globalisation will add to this. XRBCAN shares the concerns of all peoples of conscience who are true friends of Africa to see violence of all sorts completely expunged out of politics and change making in Ghana today in order to enjoy free, peaceful and fair elections in accordance with the country's motto of freedom and justice. I want to learn from you and hear your perspectives. How can we achieve planet repairs together? How can we build communities that prioritise the flourishing of our young ones in a system based on love and reciprocity, in gratitude for the abundance that our Mother Earth provides? Sending love and blessings from the UK and in Sisterhood. Thanks so much for listening, and I look forward to hearing from you.